Welcome into the CHGO Blackhawks podcast. Jay Zawaski here with Greg Boysen. Mario Tirabassi is going to join us from the United Center in a little bit. Hawks lose their 8th straight, this time a 5-2 loss to the LA Kings at the United Center. We're going to get into everything as we always do here on CHGO Blackhawks, and we, as always, are presented by PointsBet. Use promo code CHGO when you sign up to get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. And Greg, we have seen some bad Hawks games recently, and this could be one of the worst. This was an absolute disaster from start to finish. You went, almost 10 minutes with only one shot on goal in the first period. It was just a completely one-sided game against a team that, yeah, they're in playoff position, but they're in a bad division, and they're just not a very strong team. You should not get dominated by the LA Kings. This is not Tampa. This is not Florida. This is not Colorado. This is the LA Kings, and they came into the United Center and pushed you around for 60 minutes, and this one was as ugly as it gets.
Yeah, reminded a lot of that Seattle game from last week. I had that feeling of that. So the Seattle game might be the worst game of the year, but this one was slightly right behind it. Not pretty. Just another sleepy start. A lot of the same old things. You know, both those first period goals, a lot of guys standing around watching and not picking up a body. Too easy.
Yeah.
You're making it too easy. You don't have NHL starter quality goaltending right now in either Kevin Lankin or Colin Delia. I'm not trying to be mean, but it's the truth. Neither of these guys are NHL starters at this point and probably never will be. So you got to, help them out a little bit.
That would be good, yes.
You got to, just maybe impede a guy from taking a rebound shot because the rebounds are going to come. It's not a surprise with either one of these guys. When you're playing in front of Colin Delia and Kevin Lankin, and you better be aware that puck is bouncing off his pads, probably right back into the center ice.
Yes.
Be ready for it.
Well, Colby Cohen pointed it out, I think it was during the first intermission, that on that first LA goal that was a complete empty netter because of the pass by Deneau, everybody was in the right position, but nobody was moving. All 5 Hawks were just standing still.
Yeah,
and Derek King mentioned that the other night, too, of guys just standing around watching things happen. There's no attack. There's no aggression. And look, we knew when the trade deadline happened that things were going to get ugly and this team was going to struggle to get wins. This team is not that bad. This roster is not as bad as they're playing. I'm sorry. They're just not. And something is very, very wrong with the mental makeup of this team, and I'd love to get to the bottom of it. Reminder, tomorrow at 12:30, head coach Derek King is going to be in studio with us, and we can ask him in person, what do you think the situation? Because that Buffalo loss seems to have derailed this entire team.
Yeah.
The entire team.
Yeah, I had that first goal on the radio, some goofy traffic at 7:15 at night. Delayed my arrival here, not that I missed a whole lot, but so I had the radio on, and Troy Murray, after that first goal, just called out Jonathan Toews, which is not something you'd used to from Troy Murray.
No.
But he said Jonathan Toews was down low where he should be, but just kind of skated around in no man's land and didn't pick up a body. And then he said the same thing after the second goal. Guys were there. They just weren't doing anything. So, you hear the saying, this team's quit on their coach. I don't know if this team's quit. It's just they've checked out. I don't think it's a coaching thing. I mean, what's Derek King going to tell these guys at this point that he hasn't told them? So
yeah.
So at some point, it's not a coaching problem. It's a personnel problem. These guys.
It is a commitment problem.
They don't seem to care. They're already on their first tee time. They're already ready to get vacation, to clean out their locker and move on. Bye.
Well, look,
Bye.
I get you. It's understandable, right? It's a long season. It's been a tough season, and I say all the time, these are human beings, and they're not perfect. They're not robots, right? It's just really hard for me to look at Jonathan Toews, who has been called by us recently the greatest captain in Blackhawks history, 18 minutes on the ice, 1 shot on goal, 0 other shot attempts. That can't happen. It just can't. And there was a large period of this game where the Hawks defensemen had more shots on goal than the Hawks forwards. Yeah. You've seen Derek King change up the lines, scratch different guys. His message has been correct. We've been to practices. The practices have life. They have purpose, that you could see what they're trying to accomplish in practice. At some point, it's no longer Joel Quenneville's fault. It's no longer Jeremy Colliton's fault. It's probably not Derek King's fault either. At some point, these players and these leaders need to look inward and say, maybe it's been us all along. Maybe we're not giving everything that we used to give. And again, you win 3 Stanley Cups. You've accomplished everything there is to accomplish on the ice. Maybe you lose that fire a little bit. But number 19 is a guy I never, ever thought I would say that about. Never.
No.
I thought that he would be the last guy to go down with the ship, and he'd be the guy pulling everybody along with him. That has not been the case this season. And you can try to manufacture as many excuses as you want for Jonathan Toews, and they're real. We missed last season with a health condition, yada, yada, yada. Fine, but the effort isn't there. And that to me is very, very troubling.
We hear about it all the time, and we heard about it at the trade deadline. We'll hear about it all summer. Those are the kind of guys that are mentoring the young players.
Yep.
They're the leaders. They're the ones that these young players learn from. What are these young players learning from these guys right now? How to
check out.
How to phone it in for 60 minutes a night?
Right.
Do you really want these guys around a young rebuilding team?
Right now, it's hard to say yes. And what we used to say about Jonathan Toews was there's the highest paid guy on the team working the hardest, right? And that way no one had an excuse to not work as hard as Jonathan Toews. And we just have not seen it recently. We got a comment in the chat from Jay Serio. He says, I know you guys are pro-King, but I feel excellent coaches that can develop are the key to rebuilding. The tear down is the easy part, but without developing and evaluating players, you go nowhere. Okay, but Dennis Savard is the guy who basically developed this young core. Then when it was time to win, Joel Quenneville came on. You can give a little bit of credit to Trent Yawney there too. You can go team by team. So I just don't think that there's no point in going and hiring, John Tortorella? No. Somebody like what are they going to come in here and do? Scream and yell at young players for 2 years, tear their confidence apart, and then get fired because the team's exhausted from it? I think you give King another year or two, see what he can do. And look, if he's not the guy, then he's not the guy and you move on. But we've got some comments we're probably going to play later in the show. He talks about changing the system. Remember, Derek King came in here on the fly and righted for a while a sinking ship. Jeremy Colliton had this entire team just skating in circles. They had no clue what they were doing. The system was horrible. And King has sort of come in and cleaned up the system a little bit, but he hasn't implemented his own thing. I think you got to give him at least a year to see what he can do. I just don't think right now there's any sense in going to hire a big name coach for what?
Yeah, no.
For what? I just don't think there's a big developer
want this
out
job
there
at this point.
Well, that's
big
true
name
too.
coach wants it in 3-4 years when they're ready to get back to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Those guys don't want to be part of a rebuild.
No.
Why? They'll wait. They'll wait for the Toronto Maple Leaf job to come open and grab that.
Right.
Or whoever, Vegas, whatever team that gets eliminated in the first round that's already got a playoff core together, fires their coach, they'll take that job.
Right.
Derek King has never let Derek King have his own coaching staff and let Derek King have some input to this roster and let Derek King do what he wants to do. And if it's horrible next season, well, that's kind of mission accomplished. You get a great draft pick.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't progress, then you move on. But now's the time to find out. I saw something on Twitter. Somebody had asked, I don't remember who it is, and I'd like to give credit, but somebody asked, what is it, the people that don't like Derek King, what is it about him that you don't like? And the most common thing about that I read was he's not passionate. He's not yelling and screaming. He's too nice of a guy.
That doesn't fly anymore. Who are the coaches in hockey that are flipping over tables?
And here's one comment that literally made me laugh out loud was, Joe Quenneville never would accept lackadaisical play. Joe Quenneville got fired because the team played like they were lackadaisical. Yeah. Do you not remember the last season and a half he was here?
By the way, Joel Quenneville was not a fire and brimstone head coach either. He would get pissed at referees, but you would never see him go off on his players. Joel Quenneville was a player's coach. Just because he looks like a wolf doesn't mean he acts like a wolf.
Right. No.
Right? That just was not his personality.
Joe Quenneville was very joking. He just had that gruff demeanor, but he wasn't a screaming guy.
No, not by any means.
No, he said he'd scream at the refs.
Right.
He knew when the cameras were on. He knew when to do the right time to grab his nuts, yelling at the referee.
Yes, he did.
But
he had a certain panache when he did that.
But why in what fantasy world did Joe Quenneville not accept lackadaisical play?
Was Scotty Bowman a fire and brimstone coach? No. I just don't, that whole concept, especially in this day and age. There's no sport. There's no sport where a coach like that is having success.
And you know what? John Tortorella, to me, he's modern day Mike Keenan with less success.
Yeah,
they're the same guy.
Fair.
They show up.
I'm not going to go that far on Torch because Keenan was a bit of a
he was a much bigger
moron,
jag off. But
yeah,
Keenan and Tortorella, they kind of have the same path. They go somewhere. They get you to play really good for a year or two. Keenan got 3 teams to a Stanley Cup final, and was it 4? At least 3. He won 1. Tortorella won his cup.
Yep.
But after 2 years, they just wear out their welcome because these players I can't take this crap anymore. Same thing happened with Daryl Sutter.
Yep.
Now he's got the Flames going really well,
but he's not flipping tables.
Right.
He's not throwing Gatorade containers at people.
So it's like the whole, we got to scream and yell. No, you don't.
I want to, before we bring in Mario, I want to reference one of our most committed fans on the chat, Region Rev. And she's always kind of been against the Derek King thing. She says her usual mantra, keeping King on the basis of what harm he can do, is mind-boggling to me. And she goes on and says he consistently has said, "What more can I do?" I don't know if he's sort of thrown his hands up and said, "What more can I do?" I think that the reason that it's not just what harm can he do. I think that his personality fits a rebuild. I think his personality is good for young players. He's a guy who's not going to bring anybody down super hard. It's sort of the tough love. I call it the slap and tickle. Right? Like, hey, play better, but we love you. That's the sort of thing that young players
pay extra
need
for that, but that's another.
Yeah,
story.
well, sometimes.
I think he's got the patience.
Right.
He's got the patience, and he's got relationships with a lot of these guys from their time in Rockford. I think he could do a lot worse. If the Blackhawks are going to be bad next year, no matter who the coach is.
I just don't know who the person is you're going to bring in that's going to be an automatic upgrade from Derek King. Right. And if you've got a list, present it.
Right.
I just don't know what the point is of bringing in someone who is looking to win right now. That it's just, there's no sense in that. And who's going to want to do that? What coach that's proven is going to say, yeah, you know what? I'm game for a rebuild. Let's go.
I can't wait to get my hands on Sam Lafferty.
Yeah,
there are no coaches. Yeah. No coaches doing that right now.
They're saying call me in 4 years.
Yeah. Ooh, Taylor Raddysh on the same line as Boris Kachuk. Sign me up. You don't even have to. You don't even have to pay me.
That's a spicy meatball right there.
You don't even have to pay me.
Speaking of spicy meatballs, Mario Tirabassi is joining us from the United Center. Mario, thanks for jumping in, man. Want to know, what did Derek King have to say after yet another brilliant performance by his Blackhawks squadron?
He threw up his hands and said, "What more can I do?" No. Yeah, you could definitely tell that this 8-game losing streak is wearing on him, and he communicated that it's also wearing on the players. He said the team is physically and mentally drained. Aren't we all? But this is just kind of what you're going to see when you have teams like the Kings and the Stars coming to town to play a Blackhawks team that looks unmotivated. They're playing against teams that are searching for points, and you have a team in Chicago that is on a losing streak. They've lost 11 of their last 13. They're out of the playoffs. They've traded away, Brandon Hagel and Marc-Andre Fleury, two players that, even for a bad Blackhawks team, were some of their most effective. And you're kind of just left with, okay, 10 games to go, check one off, 9 games to go. Here we go. I said it on Twitter after the game. The fans who were still around kind of gave the team some half-ass boos as they left the ice. And the worst emotion that the Blackhawks can elicit from their fan base is apathy. Like, we understand the Blackhawks next season after that, maybe the season after that, they're not going to be that good. But the worst thing that you can get from this fan base is shoulder shrugs. Who cares? They need to give the fans something to tune into. They're not going to out-talent teams. They need to outwork them. And it's something that the young players are going to have to learn about fast.
That's interesting. And what is it going to be that incentivizes Hawk fans to be invested for the next few years? And especially, as we discuss, as we're going to spend much of the offseason doing the futures of Patrick Kane and Jonathan Taves, the business side is going to say, well, we have to keep those guys. There's nothing else to sell. Are fans even buying that anymore? And that's troubling. I mean, I don't know. Rebuilds are tough, that's for sure. But if the fans see a team that's giving their all every night and trying and just falling short, if they're scrappy and they're grinding and they're hustling and are doing the best they can, I think fans are cool to get on board with that, right? I think somebody ran a poll on Twitter when Kyle Davidson used the term rebuild, and it was greatly in favor of the rebuild. Fans are ready for that. What they're not ready for is a team tucking their tails and just playing out the string till golf season. That's unacceptable, and I totally get why fans would feel pissed and feel uninvested, because you know who else isn't invested right now? The players on the Blackhawks. So why should the fans invest?
Yeah, we've talked about it on the show. If you're going to be bad and you're going to lose, at least be entertaining in losses, and at least be entertaining when you're bad. At least be something you can tune into, and there's things that you can point to and say, hey, that player had a great effort. That player looks like they're developing. Like, that's what the Blackhawks are going to have to hang their hat on, at least for next season and the season after that. It's going to have to be small victories, even though they're not going to be winning a lot of games. And if you put in efforts where watching at home, fans in the stands, if those fans can point and say that team's not invested, you're right. They're not going to turn around and invest in the team. So we got 9 more to get through the end of the season. I really hope that we see consistent, better efforts in those 9 games, and we start next season with a team that is in a rebuild, but way more motivated than we're seeing right now.
Yeah, I did a little Q&A session during the second intermission on our members-only Discord, which you get access to when you become a CHGO member.
You're in your members-only jacket, too, which I thought was a nice touch.
It was nice. One of the questions I got asked was, give us some reasons why to watch these last few games. And I was like, I don't know. Like, I wish I could be like this exciting young player and this guy. And it's like, so watch so you know what we're talking about on the post-game show. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. There's not a whole lot of reasons to watch. There are some guys.
One of your biggest reasons to watch. It ends on Thursday with Pat Foley's last game.
Right after that.
So now what?
Exactly. I mean, Philip Kurashev on the top 6 is interesting, but that's not much must-see TV. You've got
Reichel, but he's only here for a handful more games.
Yeah, I mean, he's been fine. frustrating. I'm sure he's had plenty of chances to put the puck in the net and just can't seem to do it. They'll come. I'm not worried about that. But, there's not a whole lot of reasons to be excited. So if the fans and the people who are covering this team are like, I don't know. I mean, you can only imagine what the players are thinking at this point. Like,
look, I get it. I understand the frustration the players are feeling. There's no doubt about it. I mentioned this last week when I left my job at Odyssey. The last week of my job was really hard to stay committed and do the work. I'm like, I was out the door. I was ready to come here and just like, all right, let's go. Let me leave. Let me get out of here. I totally understand that. But you're a professional and you've got to do your job, and you owe it to the people who are dropping at least, parking tickets, food, drink, $200 to come to a game and watch you play. Do them the honor of putting forth an honest effort. I think that's a low bar. Just come out and play hard. That's all anybody wants to see. And I think we are seeing a little bit of the trying to do too much thing that this team always has done when they have been struggling or they've been cold. They even did that when they were winning Stanley Cups. You would see them try to do too much, but now they just don't have the talent to just get it back. And if Kane and DeBrincat aren't scoring every night, this team is not winning. And it's just, and I think, as Derek King said today, Mario, the team's feeling it too. They are frustrated. They're done. They're burnt out. It's understandable, but I still, a poor effort at home, a poor effort anywhere is inexcusable, but especially at home.
Yeah, it was interesting. Phil Thompson posed the question to Taylor Raddysh after the game. He said, this losing streak is starting to mirror how the season started, which ended up costing Jeremy Colleton his job. And he asked Raddysh, do you guys feel like you need to have some sort of players-only meeting or some sort of come-to-Jesus moment? And Raddysh kind of just was like, no, like, we're just trying to get through it. So, I don't know. From a player's perspective, obviously the losing sucks. They don't like doing it, but I don't know. It seems to me like an answer like that where it's just like, no, we don't need to do anything of that. We just need to keep grinding, keep at it. It just seems like it's not the fiery, we still care. I shouldn't say we still care, but it doesn't seem like the fire is there for the final 9 seasons. Even coming from a guy like Raddysh, who's coming in, getting more of an opportunity, and had a pretty decent game individually. He was asked, like, oh, how does this game rank in your games in Chicago? And he was just like, it was all right. It's more about the team. Okay, cool. Like, I don't know. It doesn't seem like there's much to give, and I think it goes back to King's comment. Physically and mentally, this team is drained.
Let's keep in mind too everything that has occurred this season.
Yeah, it's been a funky season.
It has been a grind to cover. It has been a grind to talk about. It has been a grind for many of these players who had nothing to do. They were playing, junior or mite hockey when the Kyle Beach incident occurred, and they've been around this all year. You've got a lot of other distractions. Pat Foley's final year, Marion Host is back, Taves 1000th game, all these sort of things. It has been a grind of a season.
You had a fired coach after a garbage start.
Yes.
Then the Kyle Beach, resigning of your GM.
GM leaves,
new GM, new coach. All this stuff, trade deadline, one of your most popular players in the locker room gets traded.
2 of your most popular players in the locker room.
Yes, true, yes. You got Fleury and Hagel gone. The Fleury one you should have seen coming. The Hagel was a little more unexpected.
Right.
You just got all this stuff, and it's like, I get that being mentally drained, but on the flip side, you're all getting paid a lot of money.
Yeah.
I get mentally drained a lot at all my jobs I've ever had, and I'm not making 7 digits on my paychecks, so, suck it up.
Yeah, that's it. It's be a professional. And this, to me, is where my frustrations with the leadership. I want these players who so many of these guys on this roster looked up to growing up to say, look, here's what it is. You're right, Mario. Players only meeting, right? Phil Thompson brought it up. Jonathan Toews, Patrick Kane, maybe Seth Jones, whoever, says we've got 9 to go. Let's do the best we can. We know this season has been a grind. We know the last few weeks have been tough, but let's play with pride. Like, I just, there's so many dudes on this team that need jobs next year, right? And if the best players on the team are not leading and are not playing hard, it rubs off and it has a negative impact, and it's tough. I don't know. It's just, for me, it's been really frustrating to watch. I know for everybody, and especially the players, this has been a long year, but you're almost done. Have some pride and finish strong. Finish on a positive. Even if they win the last, 2 of the last 3, it's going to feel a hell of a lot better than just getting smoked game after game after game till the season ends. And look, we know from a short time with Kyle Davidson, he's not just going to sit here and put up with that, right? He is ready to make unpopular moves. He's done several of them already.
There are going to be a lot of plane tickets being passed out after that last game. Like, call your realtor, you're gone, and rightfully so. It's just give us something. Give us that reason to watch.
Right.
As a fan, as someone covering this team, sure, we're going to watch because we have to. That's our job. But for the fans, give them a reason to watch these last 9 games. Show that you care. Because if you show you care, then the fans will care.
Well, you got to show the GM you care too.
You'd think, but maybe some of these guys want to.
Maybe they want out.
Maybe they want to get in the broadcasting next year.
I don't know. It's just
next year.
It's tough, man. I just feel like we're doing the same show night after night after night because the Hawks are giving us the same game night after night after night. And how many ways can you say leaders lead, players play hard, finish a check, defend, get in front of your goalie, get in front of the other goalie.
I say we just run this show Thursday night and see if anybody notices we're not talking about the same game.
Superimpose some new shirts on us.
And just be like, hey, I had no idea they were talking about a different game. Because you're right. We've literally done this same post-game show like 8 times. Hey, finally, there's some cheers at the United Center. It's about time.
It's because you broke into Frank Pellico's booth there, Mario.
Yeah, that's what they're saying.
Is he tied up? Is he bound in the corner somewhere?
Yeah, keep quiet over there, Frank. No, yeah. I don't know. I think they were doing it's a proposal. Hey.
Frank Pellico, fellow St. Patrick High School alumni.
Oh, there you go.
Yes.
Nice. I have his CD, Fire and Ice.
Nice.
That's how big of a nerd I am.
There you go.
I have a Frank Pellico CD.
I think they said yes.
There's your Hawks credentials.
Bring it Thursday. They'll sign it for you.
You're right. Hey, Mario, I know you want to go home, but let's do our 4 stars or 4-star game, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. 3 stars, by the way. Number 1, former Blackhawk Philip Deneau. Number 2, Victor Arvidsson. And number 3, something named B. Lizotte, who had
Lizzo?
a really good game. Lizzo. We'll call him Lizzo. Really solid game for all the LA Kings because they were playing the Blackhawks. So my 3rd star of the game goes to Steven. Put up on the screen because I forgot. Jake McCabe. Jake McCabe played physically in this game. He was finishing checks, and I'd like to see that. He also played 20 minutes and 47 seconds of ice time, 2 shots on goal, 3 more shot attempts. Again, 5 hits and 3 giveaways and 3 block shots. There's a guy who has not quit, at least for this night. Jake McCabe played his ass off. So he gets my 4th star.
My 4th star, I believe 2nd game in a row, I'm going to go with Philip Kurashev. Another nice night. 2 assists, and both of his assists were real nice, man. A nice pass to Taylor Raddysh from below the goal line on the first goal. Second goal, he started that play by kind of just diving for the puck and finding Taylor Raddysh, who then set up Patrick Kane. So he's got 3 points, a goal, and 2 assists since being put on that quote-unquote top line with Kane and Taves. And we got to talk to him the other day after practice, and Derek King even said that in a perfect world, Philip Kurashev is a top 6 player. That's where his skill set fits.
Yes.
So they're still trying to find a spot for him It's been a rough season, but he's getting rewarded with some time playing with Taves and Kane, which whatever, that's still a big deal. And he's taking advantage of it. So I'm gonna go with the Swiss Army knife, Philip Kurashev.
All right, Mario.
I went with Lucas Reichel. He had 2 great chances to get not only his first point, but his first goal in the NHL. Didn't bury either of them, but he played pretty well. We'll see if beyond Thursday he's still with the team. That Thursday's game will be his 9th NHL game this season. I even without having recorded a point yet, he's had some pretty decent chances, and he's been able to be noticeable. He hasn't looked out of place, but if it were up to me, I think Thursday would be his last game this season, and then he heads back to Rockford. But he had a pretty good game tonight. Noticeable. It's what you want to see from some of the other guys. So,
all right, who's going to concede here? I will concede my pick to Philip Kurashev as well.
Yeah, Kurashev played well. Yeah.
All right. Congratulations, Philip Kurashev. You win a CHGO shirt theoretically.
Yes.
All right, Mario. We will see you tomorrow at 12:30 when Derek King joins us in studio. Really looking forward to that. Yeah, make sure you tune in for that live, everybody. We're going to be there, and Coach will be here, and we'll have some fun with him, of course, but there's also some tough questions to ask, so we will not hold back. So, Mario, we'll see you tomorrow.
Bring his muffins.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
You guys missed it. I was the only one there.
Oh,
you got good muffins.
All right, Mario, drive safe, man. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
See you guys.
All right, Mario Tirabassi from the United Center. Hey, the best way to support CHGO is to download the PointsBet app and use code CHGO when you sign up. If you do that right now, you'll get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000, but that's not it. If you make a $50 or more first-time deposit, you'll receive a free CHGO membership. That unlocks all of our web content, and you'll even get a free shirt of your choice from the CHGO locker. I'm wearing one of mine tonight. My wife and daughter got their CHGO Sky shirts today. They look awesome. So that's $2,000 in free bets, a free CHGO membership, and a free t-shirt from the CHGO locker, all for making a $50 or more first-time deposit at PointsBet. If you have any questions about that, you can email pointsbet@allchgo.com, and we'll help you out. PointsBet is your home for live in-play betting, and it just got even better. Introducing PointsBet's new feature, Live NBA Same Game Parlay. The playoffs are about to begin. For the first time ever, you can build the perfect live NBA Same Game Parlay only with PointsBet. Combine your favorite bets anytime during the game. And if you want more, you can always boost your live Same Game Parlays. Watch live, parlay live, and boost live with PointsBet. And now, online sign-up is available in Illinois, so you can download the PointsBet app right now and register your account in your underpants from start to finish, all from your phone. So what are you waiting for? Once the game starts, don't just bet. Live your bet life with PointsBet. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700. Greg, you said something when we were talking to Mario a minute ago about Philip Kurashev having to play in the top 6 role to have success. And this is a common theme we're hearing around the Hawks, because it's the same deal with Dylan Strome. You can't move him anywhere but the first or second line, or he's not going to be an effective player. Now you've got Kurashev. You sort of look up and down the roster, and there's a lot of guys that can only be on the bottom 6 or only on the top 6. One thing I do hope Kyle Davidson addresses in the offseason is a little bit more versatility on the roster. Guys who can play up and down. You've seen it with Raddysh. You've seen it with Lafferty. I think if you get a healthy season from Tyler Johnson next year, that's a guy who can sort of provide that versatility. But I don't know, you can't have too many guys that are limited in what they're able to contribute. And I don't know I think Strome has enough value to make that, I don't know what you'd say, make that exception for him. But I don't know. I think a guy like Kurashev I like him in a role where he's with skilled player because he's more effective, but he's also got to be able to be effective on the third and fourth lines. You can't just be, if you're going to be one-dimensional, you've got to be elite one-dimensional. And I don't think Philip Kurashev has that in his game.
No, yeah, you definitely need guys you can plug and play and move around if need be. At this point of the season, if Kurashev can only succeed playing at top 6, then just play him at top 6.
Right now, of course.
I mean, you've got like 4 guys you can play in the top 6, and the rest of them are fourth liners. So put them up there. What's the harm? So far, so good. Maybe this is what he needed, and but you would like to see him. But he's not a checker. He's not a grindy guy. It's not his game. So maybe the problem is you just need more skilled guys to play these guys with. The problem is you only have 4 skilled guys that you could play a guy like Phil Kurashev with. So maybe have a third line that actually has some guys that could score. I know it's weird, and I know it's a foreign concept, but it just might make your team better. Maybe. I'm no expert.
I don't know.
But I think having guys that can score in the bottom 6 makes your team better.
I don't think so. I think you need more guys that can't play.
So we need more.
More guys who are second liners in Rockford, maybe.
Yeah, more Reese Johnsons.
Yeah. And nothing against those guys. Like, you need those guys to win championships. You just don't need 9 of them.
Right. You don't need, I mean,
1 or 2? Okay.
Sure.
But in my ideal world, I want Sam Lafferty to be my worst forward, not one of my more dependable forwards.
Yes. Sam, and no disrespect to Sam Lafferty.
Not.
Sam Lafferty should not be your best forward in any scenario.
Play the game I always play. Where does this player fit on a 2010, 13, 15 Blackhawks? Is he in the lineup or not? I think Lafferty is probably your 12th forward.
Yeah. He probably you didn't need Adam Burrish and Ben Eager at the same time, so he plays for one of those guys.
No, certainly not.
But yeah, he's definitely in that rotation as your 12th or 13th forward.
Yeah.
Philip Kurashev cracked the lineup? No.
No, probably not. Maybe in a pinch.
Yeah, Taylor Raddysh, maybe. He could be a fourth liner. I mean, I would take Taylor Raddysh over Ben Eager.
By the way, we should give him our fourth start of the game today. Raddysh had a good game.
He had a good game. He did. Yeah. He had a goal, assist,
8
noticeable. Hits. And that's the thing. He had games like that when he first got here, and then kind of disappeared into the muck.
Well, remember, it feels like a lifetime ago, but in the immediate aftermath of the trade deadline, they played pretty well.
They did.
And we were praising them for that, saying, hey, this team could certainly have just folded the tents and said, get me to golf season. They just waited a week to do it.
Well, as you said, they I think they won their first game after the trade deadline. Wasn't it against the Kings?
I believe that's correct.
It was against the Kings.
Yeah.
Our late night CHGO After Dark, which we'll be doing again next week, back-to-back nights. Can't wait.
Yeah.
And then they played well against the Ducks and lost in was it shootout or overtime? Overtime, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
God, that feels like that was 3 months ago, not 2 weeks ago. And then that Buffalo game, you were coming home.
Started off good.
And that Buffalo game killed it, but they still played okay in that Florida trip. They just got beat by two of the best teams in the league.
But I think you had
the effort was there.
You had the aftermath of the Vegas and Buffalo games. Then you had to go into Florida. And look, everybody knew they were going to lose those. Those are 2 of the best teams in hockey. But as players, you feel like, we played really well and have nothing to show for it in our last 4 games. That's frustrating, and that's tough, and that can be demoralizing. But that's where the leadership comes in. And look, I don't want to keep excusing Derek King, right? Like, I'm not saying he's a perfect coach by any means. And I would like to see him, and hopefully tomorrow at 12:30 he'll have some more answers for us on what he has done and what he plans to do to sort of turn this thing around before we tie a bow on the season. But it feels like it should not be this bad. It feels like they should be showing and doing more than they're doing. And it's kind of just the same story night after night. And I know we've got 1 game of Lucas Reichel left probably.
That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah. What have you made of his first season? I know it's been a short sample size, but I'm curious what your thoughts are. If you have to put a letter grade on it,
well, I
what
mean,
would you say?
Overall, you include his time in Rockford, I give him a B+, A-.
Yeah.
What we've seen here, he's been fine, a B-. He just hasn't had that finish yet. And I joked on Twitter that Lucas Reichel may never score in the NHL. And then, some people took it seriously. And then I heard a lot of, it's just Dylan Secure all over again. Let's let's freaking relax with that nonsense.
Don't plant that seed in my brain, please.
No. He's going to be fine. Lukas Reichel is going to be a good NHL player. Can he be a great NHL player? Sure, maybe.
Remains to be seen.
But I think at the bottom line, he'll be a good NHL player.
He will be a top 6 winger.
Absolutely.
That is productive.
He will be an impactful player on this roster the next couple seasons. That I can say with a lot of confidence.
I agree.
So overall, his season, I would give him in a high B or a low A because he's been really good in Rockford. He just hasn't been able to just – I think he's one of those guys where, like, once he gets that first one, he'll relax.
Right.
And he'll say, okay, I could do this. It's just this, it's no different than any other level. I know how to score. I can do this, and then he'll get into it. And you mentioned it's been the same old story over and over with the team, but where you get a whole lot of different stories, and that's at allchgo.com.
That is a segue.
There is lots of There's a variety of stories over there. We don't tell you the same story over and over again. If you want to keep supporting us, that's a great way to do it too. Become a member of CHGO Sports. Head over to allchgo.com. Become a member. You're going to get access to all of our great written material, not only just with here at the Blackhawks. And Jay, you've got something we're going to have come out
Thursday. My love letter to Pat Foley.
Yes, can't wait to read that. Pat Foley's last game is Thursday. Jay's going to gush over him via the keyboards. So
I guarantee you post-game tears on Thursday.
It will be quite the thing. And but not only Blackhawks, but we've got people covering great writers and insiders covering all our teams. Baseball season's in full swing, and we've got a great crew covering both sides of town. You see them on our shows. You listen to them on the podcast. Become a member, and you can read all their great articles as well. Plus, you'll get access to that members-only Discord server where we're going to be more active on that going forward. I was on there in between periods and got to talk to some of our members. It was a lot of fun. And as the off season comes, we're going to do a lot of more of those kind of chats. So you'll have access to that. You get to talk with all of our content creators and fellow fans. Plus, you get a free shirt. Jay's rocking one of our awesome designs here. Perfect shirt to wear to a Sox game, as you said earlier. It's got the colors, the Chicago flag. Lots of great shirts. You can get that Blackhawks podcast logo you see there on the bottom of the screen if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening to on your favorite podcast, I'm sure you see that logo. You can get that on a shirt. Lots of great shirts. You get a free one. You get all the articles. You get the Discord, and you get our gratitude. That's worth the price of admission.
That's priceless,
right,
my friends.
So, yes, become a member of CHGO Sports. You won't regret it, and we will sing your praises as often as we can.
Got a comment here in the chat from Madeline. She says, I think Reichel should go back to Rockford. The Hawks suck. Rockford is fun and exciting. I saw a comment saying Rockford doesn't matter, but it's our prospects pushing hard for the playoffs. Yes, the Rockford Playhawks? That's something. Rockford playoffs absolutely matter.
Very important.
And the organization knows that, and they're prioritizing that.
I think that's a reason we haven't seen Reichel up for a lot. We haven't seen Ian Mitchell very much, or Nicholas Beaudin, or some of these other guys. There's a reason they're staying in Rockford, because they're learning more there than they would watching guys half-ass it up here for 60 minutes.
Look, playing in games that matter, no matter what level you're on, is huge. It's enormous. So, hey, jump on that. I know the AHL is having a deal on their playoff package. I think if you buy playoffs only, it's like $29. So gear up for the playoffs, get that AHL TV package, and I know I'm doing it.
I'm going to tell you guys right now, I will be at as many of those Ice Hawks playoff games as possible. Looking now that they're going to play Milwaukee in that first round series, so that's the same amount of distance to each. I will go to all those games, both home and road, and then possibly a second round matchup with the Wolves would make it very easy too.
That would be great.
That would be a lot of fun. I will be going to as many of those Ice Hogs to cover those games as possible. So for those of you who do care about the AHL and the Rockford Ice Hogs playoffs, and frankly, right now all of us should, we will definitely be talking Ice Hogs postseason hockey because
absolutely
it's important. And what the hell else we got to talk about in May. So stick with us. We will be the CHGO Ice Hogs podcast for as long as they stay in the Calder Cup playoffs. They haven't clinched their spot yet, but they're really going to have to screw this up to not get in the
remember,
playoffs at this point.
we are all diehard Minnesota Wild fans as soon as the playoffs begin.
Yes. Get us that
I've got the hat. It's at home, ready to go. As soon as the playoffs start, my Wild hat will be either on a desk or on my head. Because I know everyone tunes in for my shiny forehead.
Yeah, we need to.
I got to get something.
Get that hat on.
I'm reflecting. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, I appreciate
We
that.
need a closer look there.
Thanks, Steven. You're the best. You just project a movie on that thing for me. Madeline, by the way, says it's a shame Ian Mitchell got hurt. He should be back for the playoffs. It's a week or two injury.
Yeah, it doesn't sound too serious. They said 1 to 2 weeks. I think they're kind of, to me, this appears to be kind of something that's been nagging him. And now that they got a comfortable cushion before the playoffs start, they're kind of like, hey, shut it down for a couple of weeks. We need you for the postseason. So, yeah, that's where they're at that. They lost another Cam Morrison, a forward, went down to an injury too. But he's not as vital as Mr. Mitchell. But I assume to see Mitchell for the playoffs, he'll be ready. And he's been really good this year. I think they did him a disservice as much as he played in the NHL last year, and they're kind of rectifying that by essentially giving him a full year in the AHL, and he's been really good.
Are you implying that Stan Bowman rushed a prospect? How dare you?
I mean, that's a hot take, but I'll own it.
All right. Before we wrap up, Steven, tell the good people. Now, some of you know I do the I'm Fat podcast, and I am a connoisseur of fast food. And I eat as poorly as one can imagine. Steven here is a young, fit young man. Looking at the guns, it's a constant gun show with Steven. I arrived tonight, and the Sox crew was saying, you have to ask Steven what his Portillos order today was. Steven, can you share with the class your Portillos order for the day?
I would love to. All right, of course, we got to start off with the big beef, dipped with mozzarella cheese. It cannot be done any other way. After that, you move on over to the jumbo hot dog. And I know the Chicago fans in the chat are going to hate this. Tomato, ketchup, pickle. Yeah,
Sorry.
I do put the ketchup on there.
Like what you like, my friend.
Then for our third entree, we go with the cheeseburger. I could have gone bacon today, but I was spending a lot of money at this point.
You're on a diet.
Yeah, watch those
You
calories.
got to eat healthy.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't want to get fat or anything,
Yeah.
And then, of course, we have to finish off with the strawberry shake, which I will be drinking right here.
Still working on it. Good Lord, man.
Well, it all offsets with the strawberry.
It's a fruit.
Yeah, it's
Good for you.
You're basically drinking a salad.
And he did get tomatoes on that hot dog.
Right. And just to be clear,
Maybe
everybody,
some fruits.
this is one meal. This is not like the day's worth. This was Steven's dinner. So if I was wearing a hat, I would tip it to you. I will shine my forehead in your honor.
Enjoy that fast metabolism while it lasts.
That's
young
wonderful, man.
Do you want to know the damages, though? $43 for one person from Portillos.
Well, at least you had to wait an hour for it, which is the new trend at
Guess
Portillos.
it made me hungry.
Can I have one hot dog? That'll be 45 minutes. Okay, cool. Thanks. All right, we're going to wrap it up. Remember, we're in here tomorrow at 12:30 p.m. Derek King will be in studio with us. Cannot wait for that conversation. It's going to be a great time. And reminder to everybody, we're presented by PointsBet. Use that promo code CHGO when you sign up to get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. But that's not it. If you make a $50 or more first-time deposit, you'll receive a free CHGO membership, which unlocks all of our great web content. And you'll even get a free shirt of your choice from the CHGO locker. That's $2,000 in free bets, a free CHGO membership, and free t-shirt from the CHGO locker, all for making a $50 or more first-time deposit at PointsBet and use that code CHGO. We will talk to you in 13 hours and 26 minutes on the CHGO Blackhawks podcast.